What's up, everybody? I'm a 24-year-old husband, youth pastor, and PhD student, and this is how I get it all done. These are the principles. So make sure you stay until the end where I cover the most important technique that I use in my weekly system. Hey guys, if you're new here, my name is Michael Thompson, and we produce content like this on the channel that talks about personal and professional development from a Christian perspective. So let's get into Monday. On Mondays, I front load the week and I prepare for Wednesday and Sunday. There are a few different Bible studies I'll do throughout the week, and we'll get into those as I go through the different days. But Monday is my day to get ahead. And I've mentioned in other videos that I'm a big fan of start fast and finish slow when it comes to the way that you look at your week. So on Monday, my goal is to have as much of the content prepared for the rest of the week as I possibly can. Whenever I start fast and finish slow, that basically allows me to go into Friday and Saturday not having as much to do. So Monday is my big day for getting the content done. And I also noticed that if I get really ahead on Monday, I have a lot of momentum for the rest of the week. If I have a really great Monday where I stayed focused, got started on time, and didn't get distracted very often, I just noticed that all the other work seems to go a little bit better the rest of the week. That's what I do on Monday. On Tuesdays, I start off the day going to a Bible study. Now, because I'm a youth pastor, my schedule is different in the summer than it is in the fall and the spring. And this schedule is one that I use in the fall and the spring. In the summer, I'm traveling a lot and we do different ministry trips, so my weekly routine is not nearly as consistent. But on Tuesday, I start off, I go to a Bible study in the morning. After that Bible study, I make sure as many things are done for the actual service on Wednesday as I possibly can. And then I also do meetings and follow up with people on Tuesday. And if possible, I put all my meetings on this one day. So the church that I work at as a staff, we meet on Tuesday afternoons. And instead of doing meetings all throughout the week with the different staff people that I work with, I do my best to get it all in one day. On Wednesday, I start a little bit later since I honestly normally work on Wednesday till about 10 or 11. My main goal on Wednesday is execute the Wednesday night service. Hopefully on Monday I had a good day preparing the sermon and touched it up on Tuesday, so hopefully I don't have to do too much work on the sermon the actual day of. Sometimes I'll have to, but the goal is to not really have to work on the sermon much on Wednesday and just focus on the different follow-up that I have to do. Maybe people have been coming to church recently and they need a pastor to reach out to them. I focus on that. And then after the Wednesday night service, it usually gets over at about 7:30. I do my very best to spend all the time that I can with people, because I know that I'm able to make up for having a long day on Wednesday, but with other people's work schedules, that may be the only day that we can talk. So I'll normally talk with people late on Wednesday and hang out with my leaders. It's usually a good time. So Thursdays, I study in the morning and then I lead a Bible study in the afternoon. And my goal with Thursday is wrap up everything else for the week. So hopefully I have all of my ministry things taken care of by Thursday. And as I mentioned earlier, I do teach on Sunday morning, so hopefully that's done by this time. And Thursday is definitely a little bit slower of a day because I work so long on Wednesday and Tuesday. So then moving into Friday, it's pretty similar. I study in the morning and then I do my hospital visits on Friday. And then I do a weekly closeout report on Friday afternoon. And Friday is also my YouTube day. And at the time of this recording, it's Saturday because I did not get my YouTube done on Friday like I had planned. But my goal with Friday is a day where, hopefully Thursday I'm wrapping up the week, Friday touch anything up that I didn't get to, and then work on YouTube. And that's kind of the gist of Friday. Saturday is my off day, and then Sunday is the Lord's day. So for me, because I'm a pastor, I do work on Sunday, and I go to church in the morning, and then afternoon is for hanging out with friends. And Sunday night is actually pretty pivotal in my wife and I's home economics, if you will, because we look at our finances and then we plan out the rest of the week for the week that's coming up. So those are the workflows that I follow for each of the days. You'll notice that there is a pattern of study in the morning and then work things in the afternoon that aren't studying, which is people and different meetings and things like that, because my goal is to look at my day in thirds. And because I'm a pastor, sometimes I work in the evenings, but I work 2/3 of the day and then spend the other third with my family. That's kind of how I think through those things. And for most of the days, that means study in the morning and then work in the afternoon, be off in the evening. But if I work in the evening, then I usually get a later start in the day. That's the simple way of looking at basically the way that I do my schedule. But I wanted to hit just 6 principles here that really are pivotal in me thinking through what I do in each one of the days. And the first principle when it comes to me managing my time as a 24-year-old youth pastor husband and PhD student is stay organized. it's so important to keep order and priority in every area of life because, for example, when you lose something, you never get that time back. Like if you're always looking for your car keys and you're always looking for a file that you lost on your computer, you never have the opportunity to get that time back. That time is permanently lost. And if you're disorganized in several different areas of your life, then you're not going to be able to accomplish nearly as much because, like I said, that time is just lost. So save yourself the hassle. Keep an organized house, keep an organized computer, keep an organized desk. The other thing that's important about keeping an organized desk is it's inviting to come in to start working. If you're working on procrastination, then one of the key principles is you want an inviting workspace. So that could be something that you struggle with. You have a disorganized, whether it be house, computer, workspace, and that is constantly sucking your time. And you need to get that fixed in order to move to some of the other things in life. The next thing you need to do is plan ahead and stay ahead. So when I look at my year, my month, my week, and my day, each one of those different pieces of time, they all have a strategy. And when you're able to stay ahead in certain areas, so you're not able to stay ahead in every area, and that does make this whole thing a little bit of a juggling act because there are some projects and work that you're waiting on other people for, and then there are some school projects that you can't necessarily get started because they're locked until a certain day. So all of these factors come into play, but as best as you possibly can, you want to make sure that you're ahead on the things you can be. For me, staying way ahead on my sermon prep allows me to juggle the things that come up last minute, and then instead of running around like crazy, because I was ahead on the sermon prep, I was able to take something on even though I didn't necessarily anticipate it. So this is a life hack. If you can stay ahead in a few different areas, some of the areas that take the most time, if you stay way ahead, you'll be able to pivot whenever things happen that you didn't necessarily expect. And then the result is that you have way more time to work on those skills that really move you forward in your job or move you forward in whatever area of life you're trying to develop. Because once you, as I mentioned earlier, if you standardize your week and you work on some of the same things consistently and you continue to develop those skills, you get faster and faster. And then that extra time you can spend reinvesting into skills that are going to move you forward. So as I mentioned earlier, know what's going on the year basis, on the month basis, on the week, and on the day, and all those things should line up. Another really important area that you need to get a hold of is fitness. Now, you don't necessarily have to go to the gym. That's what I do, is I have a routine of going to the gym, but you need to move your body and you need to stay healthy. One of the things that I started doing in college was I started lifting 5 days a week, and I still follow that routine to this day. It's just something that I actually look forward to now, but I didn't look forward to it when I started. But there's a certain characteristic you get when you focus on doing some hard things and you focus on pushing yourself, even if you don't necessarily feel like doing it that day. And then that discipline that you learn in the fitness category, it'll often carry over into other categories like work. So when you have that habit of pushing yourself to do something that you don't necessarily feel like doing, that is going to bleed into the other areas of your life. And it's one of the most important things that you can get in your life if you're going to be able to accomplish a lot, especially at a young age. Now, don't click off the video when I say this next principle, and it is ask for help. Nobody's a self-made person, and one of the preachers that I enjoy listening to, his name is John Piper, he says, "No man is an island." And it's important for you to understand that you and I, we're not going to become a certain kind of a Christian. We're not going to become a certain kind of a high performer in your field if you don't get the right kinds of people around you. And then also, don't be afraid to ask them. There are some of the teachers that I had in school that I look back on some of the habits I developed, and one of the habits is anytime I get a message that's not going to take me more than 2 minutes to just handle right away, I just do it. Well, I had a teacher in college that every single time I turned in an assignment, it was graded almost instantly. And he told me that he basically is able to stay on lots of work because he doesn't create all these extra lists, he just does things right away. So that's something that I picked up from somebody who maybe wasn't necessarily a friend, but they were in my circle. They were giving me advice of someone that I learned from. So ask people. I know that when other people ask me about time management, I'm super excited to talk about it because it's something that I think about and I try to push myself in that area. So ask for help. And whenever you ask for help, you're gonna be so much better, in a better position to grow, in a better position to develop in all these other areas. The fifth principle is pay attention to your finances. Just like I said, you have the weekly template for your time. You know what you're gonna do at what time, at what day, during every day of the week. Whenever it comes to your finances, have a plan. And whenever you have a plan and you follow through with that plan, you're gonna be able to save more money. You're gonna be able to know where your money's going. And that's a big deal because a lot of people, when they swipe the card, they don't really pay attention to what's in their bank account or how much is coming in versus how much is going out. So have a budget, pay attention to your finances, because if you don't have any margin in your finances, that can dictate a certain level of restraint when it comes to going and getting more education or developing yourself. Number 6, this is the most effective principle that you can put into your life, and that is manage your life through a calendar. Okay, when I started managing my life in a calendar, I used a paper calendar because I was super busy and I was like, I have so much to get done, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And I would just write out at 8 o'clock, I'm gonna do this, at 9 o'clock, I'm gonna do this. And that was a paper calendar. But eventually I switched to it's called Fantastical. It's a digital calendar, and I create weekly repeating events. So, I manage my time. I don't have somebody else that tells me what to do when it comes to my job. So I have a digital calendar, and all these events are weekly repeating. So every single week I open up my calendar, these events are already there, and then I adjust the calendar based on how much time I spent actually doing the thing. So if it was studying and I didn't study that long, I'll adjust it. If it was planned to be from 9 to 12 and I actually got it from 10 to 12, I'll adjust it there, and then I'll try to make that time up at another point in the week. So that's what I do. I use a digital calendar, and I still use a paper calendar for other people's events or certain events that are related to my job, but it's not necessarily something I'm doing, but I have to be aware of. I'll still use that paper planner. Make sure you use a calendar. Have a paper calendar, have a digital calendar, either one. Digital is a little bit easier because it's a little bit more versatile. You can do more things with it. But without a calendar that is dictating what you're gonna spend your time doing, you're gonna end up spending a lot of extra time watching TV, scrolling social media, video games, whatever it is. So have a plan, have a way that you track that plan when it comes to a calendar, and you're gonna be set up for success. Well, hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. The main thing that you have to do if you're going to get a lot done, accomplish a lot of things when you're young, is to have a strategy for how you spend your hours. Be intentional. So if you wanna learn more about organization, I did a video on how to stay organized in your 20s. Click that video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.